Okay, so here's my finished model. Um, the last couple things that I did in between this video and the previous one was to clean up my outliner. I deleted by all type history for some of the transforms that I had done, and then I also combined all of the um, meshes that are alike. So and I've renamed them here. So I have all the keys, all the pegs, the body, the front and the back axles. And the reason I left the front and the back axles separate is so that if I ever in the future wanted to animate a rotation of these, I would be able to do so. This is part of the model that could potentially move. So I'm going to leave these two as separate instead of combining them just as wheels. So I have a number of meshes and they're all super clean meshes, meaning that there's no interior geometry. Could the body be a little bit cleaner because it has a number of faces that have more than four sides because I did all those bevels in the beginning? It definitely could. But because I haven't used any of those additional vertices to then manipulate those faces into um, unrealistic or kind of impossible shapes, this should be able to print just fine the way it is. So I want to go ahead and add color in this video. It's kind of a bonus video. You don't necessarily have to watch how I'm going to add materials to this, but you can. The first thing I'm going to do is I think because all of these objects, I'm going to attach blends to them, I think. And so I'm going to go right click here and go assign favorite material and say blend. And the reason I'm going to add a blend is because I like the kind of specularity. It has a kind of plastic look to it. And let me go ahead now and change the color of the body. And it's not necessarily white, it's kind of a yellow white. Something like that looks pretty good. Always forget to, there we go, to hit done. So I exit out a little bit more green, hit done. Could be brighter. The wheels, let me turn back on my image planes. And at this point, I'm actually going to move them out of the way. So I don't need them to model anymore. Move them forward. Just so I can, and I'm also going to change their alphas back up to 1. I don't think I can do it all together here. I think I have to do it individually. And I no longer need to see the front view here. It doesn't give me any color information. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Okay, so I have in my top view, I want to change that alpha. There we go. Okay, so now I can really see the color here and try to match it. I'm going to apply this same color now. Let me go ahead and save this as body color. And I'm going to now right click over these pegs and I'm going to assign existing material and assign body color to it. So now it has the same material. Another thing I think I want to do with these pegs actually is smooth them. So if I can see what they look like smooth, I think they look a lot better. So let me actually go ahead and go to mesh and go to smooth. Go to my options. I just want to subdivide by 1 and hit smooth. And I think that looks much better for the pegs. They have a smoother appearance now. And now let me add some color. I think I might add a Phong. to my keys. They have their specularity because their metal is sharper. So I'm going to go ahead and now, because these are combined all as one mesh, this is something I didn't mention actually. I regret that I didn't mention it in my last set of tutorials for last week, is that we can assign multiple materials to different faces of objects. So if I go to face mode here, and let me go to my top view so I make sure I'm selecting the right faces. If I go ahead and select these faces here, I can set a material just to these faces. I don't have to set materials to just to the whole model. I can set it to individual faces. I'm going to go ahead and assign favorite material and assign a Phong. And I want the reflectivity to be a little bit higher, and I want to sharpen my specular color and brighten it. And what else would I like to do here? I think my reflectivity looks pretty good there. I bet you actually if I used an Arnold material for this, it would turn out really slick because Arnold has that ability to add like a kind of coat to your materials. But I'm just going to use the basic Maya shaders for this. Let me go and work in this mode. I think it will make it easier if I move. Actually, I'd want to move all of these planes together. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to move it right down here so I can see it. So let me go back, go to face mode, select these faces, and go to my Phong tab and choose a kind of bright red color. That looks pretty good. Be a little bit dark. And now I'm going to select this set of faces. And I'm going to assign this existing material Phong 1. But now I'm going to change this to Phong 2. So now I have 2 Phongs. No, I don't. I just have 1. Just kidding. Let me go back and actually just change this to red. Red key, or key underscore red. And make sure I'm going to have these values kind of even integers so that I can remember when I go ahead and set a new Phong material here. And I just set new material. I was using favorites before, so let me go ahead and select Phong here. And I'm going to change this, although already I forget what I set that one to, so 0.77. And here, 60, okay. Go back and select these faces. And change the color. I'm kind of looking at this sphere here to be able to determine what color. Done. And I want my specularity to be up all the way. me go ahead and change this to key orange. And key yellow. I did the same thing I always do, which is to not hit done. I'm done. And again, I must have done it. Go ahead and select these faces here. And I want to set an existing material, key yellow. It still doesn't like that, huh? Not quite sure why. It's kind of bizarre. Make sure I'm selecting all of it, the sides of the key as well. You go back into color here and see if I can't adjust this. Hit done. I'm not quite sure why it doesn't want to recognize that color. I'm gonna actually, I think that's just some kind of weird glitch. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Let me assign a new material. Let me change the color here and see if that'll, there we go. Not sure why it didn't like what I was doing before. And okay. Feel free to fast forward this part. If you are still watching though, this is something that actually bugs me about the design of this xylophone is that these two keys are the same key and they don't have the same color. And I feel like for a child that it would be like visually would be kind of clue them into how octaves work and how music works a little bit more if this, and also because you have you could easily like cut down on one of these colors here and make this and still maintain the rainbow. Like you don't need necessarily two greens. You could have red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, red. And so I'm going to actually change my design of my xylophone to fit my logic if I were making this as a toy. go and actually rename some of these here. I'm actually going to change this blue color. And now for this last key, I'm going to assign an existing material and do key red. And lastly, I'm going to just add some color to the wheels. I think the wheels, I'm going to also make a blend because they're plastic. And I know that I have this axle in here, which might be a kind of metal axle, but I'm going to just make them red. And I'm going to go ahead and assign a new material blend. And this time I want to make it a pretty bright red. I want to change the specular color. That looks about right. And just for fun, I do want to actually change this red a little bit darker red. Not sure if that actually did anything. I'm not sure why. Okay, there we are. So I have my xylophone and it's colored and it's finished and I'm pretty happy with it. So happy modeling.